will decide whether to legalize marijuana in Michigan.
When you think of a city famous for weed, you might say LA, Denver, Portland. Probably none of you thought Menominee, a small city in northern Michigan. But what if I told you that the number of dispensaries there, compared to the population, blows every major city out of the water? According to World Population Review, Menominee has a population of about 8.1 thousand. There are currently 10 cannabis stores in Menominee, although 2 have yet to be opened due to public and legal pushback. This means there's about 1 cannabis store for every 800 people in Menominee. Isn't that crazy? So is the population of Menominee composed of super stoners who consume cannabis at inhumane rates unlike anywhere else in the world? As someone who spent a lot of time there, I don't think that's the case. And the city actually voted to cap the number of dispensaries, implying they aren't exactly happy with the current situation. In reality, Menominee becoming the marijuana mecca of northern Michigan is more of a geographical and legal coincidence. This map shows U.S. states where cannabis is legal. If we zoom in and mark Menominee, it becomes pretty obvious where the demand is coming from. An invasion of cheesehead carpetbaggers from Wisconsin are tiptoeing over the border to get in on some of Michigan's cheap legal pot. It's still illegal in Wisconsin, but if you're willing to drive a few hours, it's still pretty easy to get, as long as you don't get caught by the cops. Having personally observed Menominee become a refuge for out-of-state stoners, I became concerned whether the actual people living there are benefiting. Like many small towns in the Midwest, opportunity is hard to come by. Menominee's population has been steadily declining for the last 60 years. Median household income is less than $50,000, and the poverty rate is above the national average at 16%. So theoretically, this new market could be an opportunity for this dying city to see some real positive change for the first time in years. An opportunity I fear could be fleeting, though. Considering if Wisconsin were to ever legalize, demand for cannabis in Menominee would drastically fall, likely leading to more empty storefronts and potential layoffs, something the city is already familiar with. What I see as the most valuable method of ensuring that the local population benefits is everyone's favorite government power: taxes. If the city were to apply a tax to every cannabis transaction, Menominee could have ancient Rome-level public infrastructure, all financed by potheads in Wisconsin. It was at this point during my research where all my hope and optimism was crushed, and I was force-fed the enormous black pill that is: the state of Michigan does not allow a city tax on cannabis sales. Here's how cannabis taxes work in Michigan. For every sale, there's a state tax. The state then redistributes some of that money back to cities and counties with dispensaries at a flat rate multiplied by the number of dispensaries in that city or county. In 2025, the state of Michigan distributed around $54,000 per cannabis license. The city and county of Menominee each received $432,000. While this amount is better than nothing, It makes me sick to my stomach thinking about how much more money the city could be bringing in if a city tax had been implemented. Let's do a little estimation. I couldn't find any data on the total cannabis sales in Menominee, but the state of Michigan posts a monthly report where sales are broken down by region. If we add up all the monthly totals for the region Menominee belongs to, we can see that the yearly total for 2025 is about 356 million. Using Michigan Treasury data, we can count the number of dispensaries in each county included in the region, coming out to 105 dispensaries. If we divide the total sales by the number of dispensaries, we can see that each dispensary in this region, on average, made about 3.4 million in 2025. So if we multiply the average by the number of stores in Menominee that are operating, we get about 27 million. That's our estimated total sales of cannabis in Menominee for 2025. Now imagine the city implemented a measly 10% tax on these sales. That would result in an extra 2.7 million for the city, just for 1 year. This amount, in my opinion, would have a much, much greater impact on the city. If the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, happens to be watching, please, can we get a sales tax on cannabis for the city? Now, I wish I could end this video on a positive note, but I can't help but feel that Menominee is being completely f***ed over. The owners of these cannabis companies didn't open their Menominee locations because they care about the city. None of them even live there. Menominee to them is a strategic host to latch onto until it stops being of value to them. The companies rake in millions, out-of-staters get their cheap weed, and the city's left with crumbs after the state takes its cut of the taxes. The people benefiting the most don't have to live with 10 pot shops in their backyard. They don't have to drive by multiple big, colorful signs advertising drugs as they drive their kids to school. And I'm sure the city covered in weed shops isn't very attractive to families interested in moving. Like I said before, opportunity is rare in a place like Menominee, and it hurts me to see this one be squandered. In this country, we exist to be exploited. Taking advantage of others is encouraged, and greed is a virtue. A hand reaching out of the mud for help is met with an open palm. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you found this story as interesting as I did. Please remember to like and subscribe and share the video if you found it interesting. Until next time.